Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on match day. Arsenal in action later this afternoon against PSV in the Europa League, looking to seal their spot in the knockout stages as group winners. A draw will be enough to do that, and that of course will mean that Arsenal go straight through to the round of 16 when the knockout stages start up again next year, and don't have to worry about the round of 32. So that's two less fixtures in what is going to be an incredibly congested calendar after the World Cup, and also avoiding the teams initially who have dropped down from the Champions League. And as we saw last night, and might well see over the course of the next week, when the final group stage games are played next week, then there could be some very tricky fixtures, including Barcelona, who are going to finish third in their group after their defeat last night to Bayern Munich and into Milan's win. So Barcelona dropping down to the Europa League. It's going to be some tough teams in this competition at the knockout stages. It's going to be a difficult one to win. Mikel Arteta was speaking about that in his press conference yesterday. He said this competition is getting harder and harder. How it looks and what possibilities are, it looks like the next round will be extremely competitive. That's why finishing first in the group and avoiding another two games is such an important thing for us. And so that certainly hints at the fact, like I was saying yesterday, I've got a feeling Mikel Arteta is going to play a pretty strong team tonight to try and ensure that they get the result they need, and then they can do whatever they want against Zurich next Thursday in the final group stage of the season. So I'll talk about that game a little bit more at the end of this video, do my predicted 11, that sort of thing. But I wanted to start some really interesting comments in the press conferences last night over in Holland from Arteta. Gabriel Jesus was the player. He was saying some interesting stuff. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what those two had to say in their press conferences. I thought Mikel Arteta was very interested on a few things, but specifically on Edu. Now, there's been lots of talk about Edu recently and his contract, and the fact that other clubs in across Europe are sort of looking at the work that he's doing at Arsenal and are giving him kind of admiring glances, that sort of thing. And Mikel Arteta was speaking about it yesterday, and I think Edu's an interesting one, an interesting character, I think, in terms of how he's perceived. You know, he's not exactly been Mr. Popular since he arrived at Arsenal. You know, lots of question marks about him, certainly how he deals with contracts. And, you know, he was just called the Terminator, for example, for ripping up those contracts and not being able to sell players and get money. So it's not, I don't think everyone, certainly from an Arsenal point of view, Arsenal fans' point of view, looks at Edu and think, you know, he's done a fantastic job. He's never, you know, he's not seen as this invincible, one of the invincible eras who's come back and has become this hero as the technical director. Far from it. You know, lots of people have questioned his work, quite rightly so. Because I'm still not exactly sure how I view Edu and the job he's done. I think he's done some really good bits. I think the transfer policy is really, really good. You know, the signings that have been made, both with, you know, him and in conjunction with Mikel Arteta, have been really impressive. I think on that side of things, when you look at it, I think he's done a really good job and he deserves a lot of credit. But I also think there's certainly parts that where you look at it and think, you know, why you could have made more money out of that. Did you really have to accept a low fee for that? You know, couldn't you seriously not sell Ainsley Maitland-Niles, for example? Why is it so tough to sell him when other clubs seem to be able to do it? So I think there's justifiable question marks over Edu and exactly how well he's done since he's been at the club. But Mikel Arteta, you know, clearly really values him. This is the way I'd say. He said, I hope he stays here for a long time because I think it's going in a really positive thing for the club. I work with him really well, and I think he's a super important figure at the club that represents all the values and ideas that we want to take the right way, and hopefully that will be the case. He was then asked, you know, how often do you work with him? Is it day to day? He said, yes, there is a lot of things happening at a football club and he has a huge role, but he has a really good way of communicating with people and managing a lot of things that happen daily. So for me and for the team, he's really important. And he is 100%. I can understand why Mikel Arteta will want Edu to stay and that he will commit to a long-term contract and reject any admiring glances that's coming his way, because the two of them get on well. There's no doubt about it. They work well. I think we're seeing that in terms of what they've done in the transfer market over the last couple of years. The signings they've brought in, they seem to be on the right page, and that is so important at a football club, that you have your technical director and your manager who kind of, you know, you're following the same route. You understand the project, the process, and those two seem to get each other, and they do work very, very well. And so you can completely understand why Mikel wants it to continue, because we're still nowhere near the end of this process project, whatever you want to call it, at Arsenal. There's been some really difficult decisions made. The two of them have made them together, and they appear to have been decisions that have worked out. I mean, results on the pitch show that, and I think the makeup of the squad now show that. But there's still a lot of work to do. Arsenal are far from the finished article. And if they really want to get to where Mikel always says that they want to get to, you don't want any massive disruptions. And losing Edu would be a massive disruption, no doubt about it. You'd almost have to start all over again. You'd have to get another technical director in. You'd have to hope that it's a good fit, that it's a good appointment, that he gets on well with Mikel Arteta, that there's no friction there. And, you just don't want to be having the upheaval this early on in a rebuilding process. So I think it is very important for everyone that Edu does stay. And, I think it's something that's going to be discussed. And, Arsenal have to get him tied down, just like Edu has to get players tied down. And, there's nothing that suggests to me that it won't happen just because everyone's on the same page. Mikel, Edu, the Cronkies, the board, Tim Lewis, Richard Garlick, they're all sort of singing from the same hymn sheet at the moment. And I think from what I know, Edu is very, very happy in at Arsenal. He seems to be very happy in the brief sort of moments we get to see him after games, which is very brief. When he walks past us in the mix zone and everything like that, he seems to be happy. The results on the pitch are working well. So there's nothing to suggest he's going to decide to walk away and go somewhere else. And of course, he's got huge ties to Arsenal. He is invincible. He is a part of a legendary group of players, and he hasn't really achieved anything at Arsenal yet. Done lots of great work. The squad is good now. He's done a lot of rebuilding, but your success is sort of counted by trophies, and at the moment Arsenal don't have any with this new current group, and he'll want to see that flourish and turn into a successful group. And I'm sure he will. One of the players who he did sign, who has helped with this sort of new look Arsenal that we're seeing right now, of course, is Gabriel Jesus. And Edu was absolutely crucial to that signing, as Gabriel Jesus has said himself many a times. And Gabriel Jesus was the player who was doing a press conference yesterday along with Mikel Arteta over in Eindhoven. And he spoke very, very well, I thought, on a number of subjects. Of course, his current little run without a goal, which stretches to 5 games. He talked about Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli. He talked about how he feels like he's ready to play 50, 60, 70 games and that he doesn't feel tired, that he never feels tired, that he really looks after himself now. And he sort of listed the reasons why he doesn't feel tired. And I thought it was interesting that he spoke yesterday. That doesn't mean that he's going to start today by any means, but as I said in yesterday's video, I wouldn't be totally shocked if Gabriel Jesus started this one tonight, just given the importance of the game in terms of getting a result that they need. Given the fact he's gone a few games without a goal, I think Mikel Arteta will want to give him more opportunities to score and just get that confidence level up. So it wouldn't overly surprise me if he started today. But I thought there were some really interesting comments for him. First of all, on the goal drought, he said, "It's 4 games I've started and I don't score. That's happened before, and I'm pretty sure in the future it's going to happen again. That's football. I don't want it to be like this, of course. I want to improve. I want to work, like always in my life. And then into the next game, I try again, and I'm 100% sure I will score." And look, I'm not worried about Gabriel Jesus in the slightest. I'd be a lot more worried if he wasn't getting the chances. I know that sounds really cliche and we say it all the time, but I really would be. It's like you watched Alexander Lacazette last season, for example. You knew he wasn't going to score just because you knew he was never going to get in and around the penalty area to score a goal. It just never looked like scoring. Gabriel Jesus looks like scoring every single game. At the moment, granted, his finishing isn't at the top level. He's missed a fair few chances, but he's getting them. He'll score one and then he'll score a few more. I have absolutely no worries about Gabriel Jesus and his lack of goals at the moment. I'm sure he'll score very, very soon, and he'll get straight back on it. And look, Gabriel Jesus is not a 25 goal a season striker. His stats show that. His numbers previously show that. I don't think anyone thought when Gabriel Jesus got here that he was going to score 25 Premier League goals this season. But I fully expect him to get around the 15 to 20 mark. I'd be disappointed if he doesn't at least get over the 15 mark. And then I think what he brings to the rest of the squad, the amount of goals he will help set up for, Saka, for Martinelli, the space that he makes, the work ethic that he puts in, that sort of is almost as important as the goals that he scores himself. So I've got no worries with him, and he's just been such a breath of fresh air. He's transformed the way Arsenal play, and he's also sort of added his leadership qualities to the group, which for the players like Saka and Martinelli who play with him is just a huge thing. And he was speaking about those two as well. I thought these were really good quotes. He said, "Saka and Martinelli are machines. I joke with them. I think I'm a player with a lot of energy and I run all the time. I fight all the time. But when I train every day with them, I realise I'm not even close to them because they just don't stop. They are machines, quality players as well, and they are still young, both 21. I am lucky to play with them." That's really good insight from a player who's won it all. He's done it all at Manchester City. Still young himself, obviously, only 25. But he's come to Arsenal and he's just seen these two young players, these two young attacking talents at the club, and he's just been absolutely blown away by what they do, not just on the pitch that we all see every Saturday, every Thursday night, whenever, but behind the scenes at London Colney, in training, the way they work, the way they approach every training session. Just thought there's really good insight into him, and two absolutely quality young players who are, fingers crossed, we're going to see playing in an Arsenal shirt for a long time to come. Okay, so before I go, just wanted to talk about tonight's game. As I said yesterday and earlier on in this video, I wouldn't be surprised if Mikel goes strong. I'm going to give my predicted 11, and it's going to be really hard. I've said it before every Europa League game, it's almost potluck when you go for a predicted 11 because it's just really difficult to know exactly what Mikel is going to do. We kind of have seen in previous games how he's approached these, and I think it's going to be a similar sort of situation tonight. So you'll get the likes of Nketiah, Vieira, those type, Rob Holding, those players who are going to come in for all the Europa League games. But I think he's just going to continue the same sort of approach and he's done. So he's kind of rotated a few of the senior Premier League starting 11 and dropped them into the team to ensure the side is strong. Like I said, I wouldn't be overly surprised if Gabriel Jesus starts. I'm not going to put him in my starting 11, this predicted 11, however, but I wouldn't be at all shocked if I do see him in that 11 when it is announced later on today at about 4:30. So, I mean, look, we know the goalkeeper, that's going to be Matt Turner, no doubt about it. He's been really good so far in the Europa League. I thought he started that first game at Zurich, he looked a little bit edgy, as he had done in pre-season, but his last three games, really well. 3 clean sheets, made some good saves in those games as well. And also with his ball at his feet, his sort of sweeping up type play, I think he's done very well. So he's had a good Europa League campaign so far, Matt Turner. I think he's going to be really key tonight because PSV, look, they were rubbish, I thought, last week in the game at the Emirates. Really disappointing. They're going to be different tonight. They're at home. They score lots and lots of goals despite the way they played last week. They do score lots of goals. They do attack well at home. I think Matt Turner's going to be a key man for Arsenal tonight, if not the key man, because I expect PSV to put Arsenal under a lot of pressure. So yeah, Matt Turner in goal. The fullback's going to be interesting. Exactly what he's going to do. Is he going to play a Ben White, that type of player, or is he going to go with Tomiyasu? I think we might see Cedric today. I've said it pretty much before every Europa League game. This will be the game we see Cedric. He hasn't played yet this season. He is fit now. He's been fit for a while, and Mikel still hasn't played him. He's always on the bench. He hasn't played him, giving him any sort of game time. I think tonight we might finally see Cedric start at right back, because I wouldn't be surprised if we see Tomiyasu play over at left back and Kieran Tierney rested ahead against a game against Nottingham Forest at the weekend. So I'm going to go Cedric right back. I'm going to go Rob Holding and William Saliba as the two centre-backs. I think Gabriel will get a night off from the start. He'll be on the bench. And then I'm going to go Tomiyasu at left back. And then in midfield, Sambi Lokonga, who Mikel Arteta spoke about actually in yesterday's press conference. I think Sambi's actually had a pretty decent Europa League game. He gets a lot of grief, Sambi, on social media. I see it on a lot of replies that I get. I don't quite understand it. I don't think he's done too badly at all this season, especially playing in that position, which I don't think is his best position, which is the number 6 type role. I'd much rather see Sambi in slightly more advanced number 8 role. I think he's a little bit better there, but I still think he's done well as a number 6. So yeah, Sambi there. Then I'm going to go with Odegaard and Vieira as the 2. I think Granit will get a bit of a night off. He'll be on the bench today. You might see him in the second half, but I think we'll see Odegaard and Vieira start. And then obviously no Marquinhos. He didn't travel. As I said yesterday, he was ill, didn't train yesterday, and Mikel Arteta confirmed in his press conference that he didn't travel. So I'm going to say right wing. I'm going to go with Reece Nelson. I think we might see Reece play over on the right, and then I'm going to say Eddie Nketiah as the striker, and then Gabriel Martinelli as the left-sided forward. So Matt Turner, Cedric, Saliba, Holding, Tomiyasu, Sambi, Vieira, Odegaard, Nelson, Nketiah, Martinelli. That is my predicted 11 for tonight. I'm sure it's going to be wrong, but let me know what you guys think at all. What starting 11 do you want to see tonight. What 11 do you think Arteta will go for tonight? Anything you agree with, disagree with, you've heard in this video, please do let me know, as always, in the comments below. Thank you for watching, everyone. Appreciate your time, as always. Do enjoy the game this evening, wherever you're watching it around the world. And yeah, have a good one. I'll speak to you soon.